When you need to draw really precise shapes, like cars for example, there's nothing better than paths for creating selections. So to create a path, I use the pen tool. And with the pen tool, if you click once, you get a point. If you click again, you get another point, and it draws a straight line in between. Now the nice thing about the pen tool is if you don't want straight edges and you want curves, you can click and drag. And you'll notice that when I click and drag, I get a slight curve. It's a really nice way of drawing these really nice precise curves. Okay, so I'm going to go down here. Let's go around the edge here. We'll go around the door. Now when you're drawing your curves, like I said, if you just click, you get a straight line going from there to there. If I want to adjust that, I can hold down various different keys. If I hold down the Alt key, it will convert it. So I've now got handles where I didn't have handles before. Now if I hold down the Command key and the Alt key, it will allow me to do that. So I can change the direction of the handles. So by holding down these different keys, you can adjust the points after they've been drawn, which is really useful, and you can then continue drawing your path. And when you're drawing these curves, if I just undo a couple of points, when you click and drag, you're kind of dragging across the curve, and dragging the handles in and out determine the amount of curves. You see I'm making the curve much bigger there. Dragging them up and down like this decides on the amount. Decides on the angle. So angle you do by doing that, and amount by doing that. And they kind of feel like elastic bands. So I'm just going to go around here. I'm not being too precise. I'm just going to roughly get that done so that I can show you how this works. As I said, you can then go round grabbing those points, moving them, adjusting them if they need adjusting. And you'll see that I have what's called a work path. Now a work path is a temporary path. So if I want to save this, I just have to give it a name. So I'm going to call it cab. Okay, so it's the cab of the truck. Don't know if that's the right name, but anyway. So we've got the cab. I'm then going to create a new path, and I'm going to draw the bonnet. So again, clicking and dragging to create these little curves where I need them, and clicking once where I want a sharp point. So clicking and dragging gives you a curve. Clicking once just gives me a nice sharp point for these edges here. It takes a bit of practice to get used to using curves, but once you get used to them, there's no better way of drawing these complicated shapes. Okay, so I'll call that one bonnet. Okay, now the cab selection is really good, but I actually want to remove the windows from that. So I'm going to create them separately. So I'm going to call this one, well, let's select it first of all. So I'm going to draw around this window. Okay, and then we're going to draw around this window. Now you'll notice that when I do that, the other one disappears. But it's added it to the path. You see that if I click on make selection, if I select the whole path and then click on this button, it will select all of it. Okay, so I'm going to rename that side window. Okay, and then we'll add another one, which will be the front window. So I'm going to put a tiny curve in there. Okay, so this will be front window. And then I'm also going to do this window here. Now when you create two shapes like this, if you just click on the selection button, it will only load one. So what you need to do is deselect and select the path again, and then load it, and it will save both of those as a selection. So we'll call it back window. Okay, and then we'll do the back of the van. So I'll just do that very quickly. Now I'm doing it really rough here. You can spend a bit more time doing it. Couple of little curves in there. It's great for doing these wheel arches and things like that. I think we're going to put this running board in. Okay, now you'll notice that I've added that to the same selection. What I'm going to do is create a new path, select this, so I'm going to select the path using the direct selection tool, which is hidden under here. So you've got the path selection tool and the direct selection tool. If I select the path selection tool, that will select that path, and I can then cut it and paste it into here. So if you make a mistake, you can just go and grab the path from the other part and paste it into the new path. And I'll call that back of van. Okay, now I could carry on with this, but what I'm going to do is just show you how we can then use these selections. So if I select the cab and then make that into selection, it selects the entire cab. But if I want to then remove the side window and the front window from that, if I hold down Alt and click on this one, and then click on the selection button, it will open up the Make Selection dialog box where I can say Subtract from Selection. So it's now selected this element here, but it's removed the window. Let's do the same for the front window. So I select the front window, hold down Alt, and click on the Select button, choose Subtract from Selection, and now it's selected just the bodywork without the windows. Now, the great thing about this is it's kind of storing up all that information in this panel. So it means that if I go away to work on something else and I come back, all this information's here. Now, you can also save your selections. So you see here, there's one that I saved earlier. To do that, I can go to Select, Save Selection, and I'll call it cabin minus window. Oops. And create a new channel. So there's my selection there. That can be loaded at any time. So a couple of different ways of saving paths and saving selections. So it means that if I accidentally deselect that for some reason, I can just go to Select, Load Selection, choose my cab minus windows, and it's selected again. Okay, now if you are finding it difficult to figure out what's selected and what's not selected, you can use Quick Mask Mode. And Quick Mask Mode will paint red over either the selected area or the deselected area. Now if I double click it, I can say show me the masked areas, or double click it again, show me the selected areas. Okay, and this is really useful because it means that I can go into a bit more detail. So this section here, you can see that I've missed a bit here. So then I might want to either use the pen tool or maybe just use a brush tool to paint this selection back in. Now when you're in quick mask mode, painting with black will add and painting with white will subtract. Now that's if you're showing, if you've got your settings on selected areas. If it's on masked areas, it would be the opposite. So now I can just go in there and, whoops, select black and just paint in that edge there. Okay, now I've got a mouse, so I'm making a really bad job of that, but you do a much better job with your pen. Okay, so you can paint a selection in quick mask mode.